I took a job as a fire lookout in the Appalachian Mountains. I should have read the rules. I wasn't supposed to leave the tower. That was rule number 1. But when something starts knocking from 60 feet above the ground, you stop caring about rules. 3 weeks ago, I took a job as a fire lookout in the Appalachian Mountains. It paid well, too well, honestly. No experience needed, no coworkers, no cell signal. Just a radio, a supply drop every 2 weeks, and a list of rules. I thought it was a joke. Until night 3.
The tower sat alone on a ridge, miles from the nearest trail. Wooden structure, old, probably built in the 60s. You had to climb 6 flights of narrow stairs just to reach the cabin. Inside, a bed, a desk, a pair of binoculars, and a radio that only worked when it wanted to. The first 2 days were peaceful. Too peaceful. No birds, no insects, just wind. On the second night, I finally opened the envelope labeled "Read Only After Sunset." Inside was a handwritten list. Rules. It said, "Do not leave the tower after dark. If you hear whistling, do not respond. If something is seen in the tree line, do not observe it for more than 10 seconds. If the radio turns on by itself, listen, but never reply. If someone knocks on the trap door, do not open it. If you see lights in the forest, close your eyes until they're gone. If you smell something rotting, hide under the bed immediately. If you hear your name, it is not me." At the bottom, in different handwriting, Rule 9 was removed. Do not ask why. I laughed. Actually laughed. That stopped later.
Night 3. Around 2:17 a.m., the radio clicked on. Static at first, then a voice, low, distorted. "You're watching too long." I froze because I had been using the binoculars. There was something moving in the trees. Tall, too tall. It didn't walk like a person. It bent wrong. I remembered Rule 3. I dropped the binoculars immediately. The radio went silent. The next morning, I tried to leave, pack my stuff, hike back down, but something felt off. The trail wasn't there. I swear to you it was gone. Just trees, endless trees. I climbed back up to the tower. That's when I noticed something new carved into the wood near the ladder. You were seen. I hadn't noticed that before. I started rereading the rules. That's when I realized they weren't warnings. They were survival instructions.
Night 5. I heard whistling. Soft at first, like someone trying to mimic a bird. Then it got closer and closer, circling the tower. I covered my ears, but then it changed. It wasn't random anymore. It was forming patterns, like language. Then it stopped. Complete silence. And then a whisper right beneath the floor. "Hey." My blood went cold. "Can you come down?" It sounded like my brother. He lives 500 miles away. "Please, I'm hurt." I didn't move. Rule 5. Do not open the trap door. Then came the knocking. Slow, heavy, deliberate. Each knock shook the entire tower.
The smell came next. Rotting, like something dead left in the sun. I didn't think. I dove under the bed. Rule 7. I stayed there, holding my breath. The knocking stopped, but I heard something else. Climbing, not on the stairs, on the outside. Something was scaling the tower, claws scraping wood. Slow, patient. Then it reached the top. Silence. And then footsteps inside. I could see its feet from under the bed. They weren't human. Too long, too thin, bent backwards. It walked slowly across the room, stopped right above me. I shut my eyes. I remembered another rule. Rule 8. If you hear your name, it is not me. Then it spoke, perfectly, in my voice. Come out. It's safe now. I didn't move. Minutes passed, or hours, I don't know. Eventually, the footsteps stopped.
Morning came. Everything was quiet again. Too quiet. I crawled out. The door was still locked, the trapdoor still shut. Nothing inside. But on the desk, the list of rules had changed. There was a new line, written in fresh ink. 9. It learns. Do not let it understand you. And below it, a sentence I know I didn't write. It knows your voice now. I've been here 12 days. The supply drop stopped coming. The radio hasn't turned on in 2 nights. But sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I hear someone outside the tower, calling for help, using my voice. We thought he was just another hiker, until he started following us. At first, we thought he was just another hiker. You know how it is. You pass someone on the trail, maybe nod, and keep going. But this guy didn't nod, didn't say a word. He just stood there, watching us. And when we passed him, he turned around and started following. This happened in October 2021. We were in California, about an hour outside the city. Me, Ethan, Chloe, and Ryan. Just a normal weekend plan. Quick hike, fresh air, get out of the noise.
It wasn't some isolated trail either. It was popular. People hiked there all the time. Families, couples, groups. Safe. At least, that's what we thought. We started around 10 a.m. Cool weather, clear sky. At first, the trail was busy. People passing by, dogs, small talk. Everything felt completely normal. But the deeper we went, the quieter it got. About an hour in, we saw him. He was standing just off the trail, half hidden between trees. Not sitting, not walking, just standing there. At first glance, nothing unusual, but something felt off. You know that feeling when your brain notices something before you do?
He was wearing a dark jacket, too heavy for the weather. Hood up, face partly covered, and he wasn't looking around. He was looking directly at us. We slowed down, didn't say anything, but all of us noticed. As we passed him, I glanced back. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't speak, just stared. We kept walking, tried to brush it off. Ryan even laughed. Dude probably thinks we're the weird ones. We laughed too, but it didn't feel real. Then Chloe said quietly, "Don't turn around, but I think he's behind us." That sentence changes everything. Your body just switches from relaxed to alert. Ethan checked first, tried to make it casual. Then he looked at me, and I already knew. He nodded. The guy was walking behind us, same pace, same distance, not catching up, not slowing down, just there.
We tried to explain it. It's a public trail. He's just going the same way. Relax. But here's the thing. If someone's just walking, they pass you, or they fall behind. They don't match your exact pace for 15 minutes. We stopped, pretended to check our phones. He stopped too. That's when it became real. We started walking faster, still trying not to panic. So did he, still behind us, still silent. No loud footsteps, no breathing, just close enough to remind us he was there. Chloe whispered, "This isn't normal." Ryan turned this time, fully. The guy stopped instantly, just stood there again, watching. And then he smiled. Not friendly, not normal. The kind of smile that feels wrong.
That's when we ran. No plan, no countdown, just instinct. We ran down the trail, branches hitting us, feet slipping, heart racing, and then we heard it. Footsteps, fast, heavy. He was running too. No more pretending. Ryan almost fell. Ethan pulled him up. We didn't stop. You don't think in moments like that. Your body just says, run. We took a turn, one we didn't recognize. Didn't matter. We just needed distance. The footsteps got closer, too close. And then they stopped. Just silence. We kept running. Another minute, maybe more. Then we stopped, breathing hard, shaking. We listened. Nothing. No footsteps, no movement, just wind. We thought we lost him. When we made it back to the main trail, people were there again. Voices, noise, normal life. We didn't tell anyone. Not really. Just said we got lost. But that night, Ethan sent a link, a news article. 2 hikers found dead in California forest. Suspect still unidentified. Same trail, same day, earlier that afternoon. Witnesses reported a man in a dark jacket standing near the trail, watching people, waiting, just like he did with us. We thought we escaped, but sometimes I wonder if he ever really lost us or just chose someone else. I don't tell this story often. Not because people won't believe me, but because I'm not sure I fully understand what I saw. All I know is we went into that forest looking for one missing person and came back realizing we were never alone. This happened during a late-season search operation. Cold had just started settling into the forest. Not freezing, just enough to make everything feel wrong. The kind of cold that creeps into your bones. My name's not important, but at the time I was working as a forest ranger. I was paired with a guy named Daniel. We'd done dozens of search operations together, so when a report came in about a missing hiker, we didn't think much of it. People get lost all the time. But this case was different, because the last thing the hiker said on his phone before it cut out was, "Something is following me, and it sounds like me." We reached the search zone just before sunset. Dense forest, no trails, no landmarks, just trees that all looked the same. The air felt heavy, still, like the forest was holding its breath. Daniel checked the map. "We'll sweep north first." I nodded. We started moving, slow, careful, calling out the hiker's name every few minutes. No response. But something felt off. Not in a dramatic way, just small things, subtle,
like the forest wasn't reacting to us. No birds flying away, no animals running, nothing. About an hour in, we heard it. Footsteps, behind us, not far. We both stopped, listened. Nothing. Then Daniel said, "Probably echo." But I could tell he didn't believe that. We kept walking, and then it happened again, this time closer. Step, 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 matching our pace.
We turned around quickly, flashlights scanning the trees. Nothing there, but the feeling that something was just out of sight, that didn't go away. Daniel forced a laugh. "Okay, that's getting annoying." We kept moving, but faster now, less talking, more listening. Then we heard a voice, faint, from deeper in the forest. "Hello?" Relief hit instantly. "That's him," I said. We followed the voice.
The deeper we went, the colder it got, and the voice started changing. At first it sounded normal, panicked, human, but then it became clearer, too clear, like it was right next to us, even though it wasn't. "Over here!" Daniel stopped. "You hear that?" I nodded, but something felt wrong. The tone, the rhythm. It didn't sound like someone asking for help anymore. It sounded like someone repeating something they heard. We stepped into a small clearing, and that's when we saw him, the missing hiker, standing in the center, back facing us, not moving. "Hey!" Daniel called out. No response. We approached slowly. "Sir, are you okay?" Still nothing. Then, very slowly, he turned around. His face looked normal, but something about it wasn't. Like every feature was slightly off. Eyes a bit too wide, smile just a little too stretched, skin too tight, like it didn't belong to him. He looked at us and said, "Finally." Not relieved, not scared, just calm. Daniel stepped forward. "We're here to help," but I grabbed his arm. "Wait," because I noticed something. The man's chest wasn't moving. No breath, no rise, no fall, just still, completely still. Then, behind us, we heard it again, a voice, shaking, weak. "Please, help me." We froze, because that voice was coming from the trees behind us. Slowly, we turned, and there, crawling out from the darkness, was the real hiker, bleeding, terrified, barely alive. Daniel whispered, "Then what is that?" We turned back. The thing in the clearing was still there, still smiling, but now its face was starting to twitch, like it couldn't hold the expression anymore. Then it spoke, not like before, not human, something deeper, broken, too many. Its jaw shifted, cracked slightly, and the smile dropped completely. It took a step toward us, and that's when we saw its legs. They bent wrong, not like a human's, not like any animal's. Then it moved, fast, too fast. We grabbed the real hiker and ran, didn't look back, didn't stop, but behind us we could hear it, running and copying us, our footsteps, our breathing, our voices. We made it out, barely. The hiker survived,
but he never spoke again, not once. And Daniel quit the job 2 weeks later. As for me, I stayed, told myself it was just stress, just fear, until a few nights ago when I was alone at the watch post and I heard something outside. Soft, calm, patient, a voice calling my name perfectly. And then it said, "Finally." If you're ever in the woods and something calls out to you, don't answer right away. Listen carefully, because if it sounds too perfect, too clear, too familiar, it might not be trying to find you. It might be trying to learn you.
If you've ever worked a night shift, you know the silence feels different. It's not peaceful. It's watching you. And sometimes something watches back. This story comes from a warehouse worker who quit after his 3rd night.
I took the job because it paid more. Simple as that. Night shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. The warehouse sat just outside the city. No houses, no streetlights, just a long road and darkness that felt thicker than usual. The manager barely looked at me during the interview. He just said one thing before I left. If you hear something calling you, don't answer. My job was simple. Scan boxes, move them, stack them, repeat. The warehouse was massive, rows of shelves stretching into darkness, and at night, only one section was lit. The rest, pitch black. My first night was normal. Too normal. The kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. Every footstep echoed too long. Every movement felt noticed.
Around 2 a.m., I heard something. A voice. Faint, distant, coming from the dark shelves. Hello? I froze. There wasn't supposed to be anyone else. I grabbed my flashlight and pointed it toward the sound. Nothing, just rows of boxes and darkness swallowing the light. I remembered what the manager said, so I didn't respond. The second night, it happened again, but this time the voice was closer. Hey. It sounded like a coworker, casual, almost friendly. Can you help me for a second? My body reacted before my brain did. I took one step toward the dark. Then I stopped. Something felt wrong. The voice didn't echo. In a huge warehouse, everything echoes. But this voice, it sounded like it was right next to my ear.
I turned slowly. Nobody. But then I noticed something. One of the shelves was slightly out of place, like something had pushed it, and behind it there was a gap, a part of the warehouse I hadn't seen before. My flashlight flickered as I pointed it inside. Boxes, stacked differently, old, dusty, like they hadn't been touched in years. And then I saw it. Footprints, leading into the darkness. Bare footprints. I should have left, but curiosity is a dangerous thing at 3 a.m. I stepped inside. 1 step, 2 steps. The temperature dropped instantly. My breath became visible. And then I heard it again, right behind me. You came. I turned around fast. Nothing. But the entrance was gone. Just shelves, endless shelves. And then I saw movement between the aisles. Something tall, too tall. Its limbs didn't bend right, and its head
tilted slowly, like it was studying me.
Then it spoke again, but this time it sounded like me. Help me. My own voice coming from that thing. And that's when I realized the footprints were the same size as mine. I don't remember how I got out, but when I woke up, I was outside the warehouse. Morning shift workers were arriving. I quit immediately. But before I left, I asked the manager one question. Has anyone else heard it? He looked at me for a long time and said, "They don't hear it. It calls only once you're already chosen. So if you ever work a night shift and something calls your name from the dark, don't answer."